Cardinals Rewind with Steven McCollum. I, of course, am Steven McCollum, coming to you with this main event podcast, a special podcast here where we break down Cardinals' previous game the week before and preview the week coming up here in the Arizona Cardinals NFL 2020 season. Of course, last weekend, not a lot to talk about. There was a bye week. Cardinals survived the bye week for the most part. We'll get into some things that happened, obviously, beginning of this week that affects this weekend's game against the Dolphins. And, of course, off the bye week, the 5-2 Cardinals will face the Miami Dolphins. And, of course, rookie Tua Tagovailoa this Sunday in Glendale. Home game for the Cardinals. It's Tua's second start of his career, and he had a difficult first start last weekend against the Rams. Although the Dolphins did win, they did beat the Rams by convincing margin, 2 touchdowns, but it wasn't all with the offense and what the offense did. We normally don't break down the opposing team that often. We talk about pluses and minuses, but since the Cardinals had a bye week and the Dolphins are coming in, let's spend a little time on the Dolphins right now as they go, because they are now 4-3 on the season. Shocking for the Dolphins. They did make the quarterback change when they were 3-3. They went from Fitzgerald to Tua. Get the rookie a start, and let's see how he goes, is I guess what the Dolphins' thought process is. And Dolphins are on a 3-game winning streak. So coming in here, and as I said, they just beat the division rivals in the Los Angeles Rams. They did beat the 49ers, I believe, earlier in the year as well, if I'm correct on that. And so they are on a roll, but those were both in Miami. This one's here in Glendale. Cardinals are fairly healthy. Fairly, as I said, we'll get into that. But here's some interesting Dolphin stats that I found looking into this game this weekend. I mean, we saw a game under Tua last week. We got a game underneath him. Unlike when we went and played Dallas, we talked about that, where Dallas, we didn't know what to expect because Dak had just been hurt. The Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, hadn't yet had a start. We didn't know what to expect in that game from the Cowboys. This game, we have seen what the Dolphins did last week. Granted, it was the first week. You expect some changes going into this week. But check out these stats, right, as we go through this here. I know this one's kind of a throwaway, but I do find it interesting that Tua Tagovailoa became, I'm going to stumble over that all podcast, so forgive me. He became the first rookie quarterback to defeat the Rams since Russell Wilson did it back in 2012. 2 things about this stat that, it doesn't really matter. Great, a rookie quarterback beat the Rams. Man, Russell Wilson's been in the league since 2012. Woo! I'm getting old. It feels like yesterday. It's been a while, right? The Dolphins' defense is dominant. They were dominant in this Rams game, at least. They have had their ups and downs, but they are a better defense than they get credit for. They did have a 82-yard, I'm going to look that up here in a second, fumble return. But the Dolphins have allowed 17 points or fewer in 3 straight games for the first time since week 7 through 9 in 2014. These last 3 games, the Dolphins have kept opponents to 17 points or fewer. Talk about that and what to expect from the Cardinals offense coming up against this Dolphins defense coming up here. The Dolphins have won 3 consecutive games by 10-plus points for the first time since 2014. As I said last week against the Rams, we're not going to focus on the ones before because Ryan Fitzpatrick was the quarterback there. We're going to focus on last week's game because that's when Tua was in there, and that's the team that's going to be coming in to play the Cardinals this weekend. But they won by 10-plus points. Now, granted, 14 of those points were from fumble recovery, and then a special teams, I believe it was a punt return for a touchdown. So it wasn't all offense. The offense was kind of stagnant last week. We're going to break that down a little bit here in a second. So I'm just interesting stats looking into going to this game. The Dolphins defense last week confused Jared Goff. It's like he didn't know what happened. He was lost through a lot of that game. And, it showed. Rams had 400 and I don't have it in front of me. Let me look it up here real quick. I don't want to guess here at this point. But the Rams had 471 total yards on offense. Dolphins beat them by 11, right? Dolphins had 145 on offense. Didn't do much on offense. Like I said, it was a deal. They had 340 passing yards, the Rams did. Dolphins had 90. It was a big dink and dunk offense. Tua with Sam Darnold on the other side. Tua was just unloading the ball quickly during this game. No deep passes down the field. It was dink and dunk. Rushing yards, they had 55, and there's some injury news on the Dolphins rushing yards going into this game as well that I think is also going to hurt them as we look at the game this weekend as we continue on here, right? So, as I said, the Dolphins defense, number one scoring defense in the NFL right now, by the way, guys. It's not something that it's something you need to be aware of. They did have a 78-yard fumble return against the Rams last weekend. They did have a 88-yard punt return last weekend for the Dolphins against the Rams. So you gotta keep this defense in line. Don't no turnovers to give them points. Don't allow special teams to go out there and get points either. Just interesting things that happened last weekend in the game against a team we're all familiar with in the Rams. As I said, Tua's first game starting, he was 12 for 22. 90, I have to cheat here because 93 yards passing and then one touchdown. I have to cheat a little bit. I can't find my glasses. And these computer screens can be a little rough at times, as y'all know, as you get older. Absolutely. So, 93 yards, one touchdown on offense. Not an all day. He did run the ball twice, but 0 yards. Not a big deal. Myles Gaskin ran the ball 18 times, 47 yards. Let's break it here. Myles Gaskin is not going to be playing this weekend for the Dolphins. Puts more pressure on Tua this weekend to perform because their best running back, who get 18 carries last game, is out this weekend. It's going to hurt him a little bit. So just some stats going into here to what you expect from the Dolphins. Very good defense. Better than average defense. Good, borderline on great is what I'm going to say. These last 3 games at least. But offense has definitely regressed with Tua last week. Will that continue? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see this weekend. There was some breaking news this morning. Of course, I'm recording this on Friday. I was waiting for injury reports to come out. They're a little delayed today. Partly because news came out a little bit earlier today that the Miami Dolphins assistant tested positive for COVID-19. Of course, the game is this weekend. He immediately went into isolation. They're doing contact tracing, all of that to see who else needs to be isolated. The game is still on as of now. There's no reason to think that it's not on, that they're going to cancel it. But it's just something to keep an eye on. The Dolphins went immediately into the NFL intensive protocol. They're following all the guidelines, including contact tracing. And they'll continue to work with the NFL team doctors and their training staff to get through it. They did put out a statement this weekend, today, that said, we were informed that a Miami Dolphins assistant coach has tested positive for COVID-19. The assistant coach immediately quarantined, and we are in the NFL's intensive protocol. We are following all the guidelines, including contact tracing, and will continue to work with the NFL team doctors and our training staff. As I said earlier, that's what their statement says. I don't know why I read it twice. Just to reiterate the point, put some chaos into the Dolphins situation. Some players might have to sit if they find out contact tracing was there. Breaking news. As of now, game seems to be going on. Not a lot of news on that side. Right now, other than that, something to keep an eye on, right? Brian Flores, after that statement and an interview, Brian Flores, the head coach of the Dolphins, did come out and said they do still plan to fly to Arizona today for the game with the Cardinals. He said the assistant coach who tested positive is in quarantine, and they feel good about how they handled the situation. Brian Flores is not worried about an outbreak on the team. They feel the issue is contained. So that's good. They were able to contain it. Obviously, it wasn't an assistant coach that is in contact with a lot of players. They feel confident in that. So that means hopefully the game will go on, and it means that the players that do come out here will obviously be able to play all that fun stuff, right? So exciting times there in Dolphin Land this morning. Waking up, it's never good. It disrupts it. It's Friday. They're traveling. Disrupts everything when that happens. It'd be interesting to see how they react already, and when it's not looking very good for the offense already as they go. Last week after the bye week, of course, we had some news where two players on the Cardinals tested positive for COVID-19 on the bye week. Devin Kennard and Byron Murphy were both put on the COVID-19 list. They are both out for this weekend. Obviously, Kennard, I attributed a lot of that Carolina loss to Kennard and the Lions loss to Kennard being out. He was that force up front. You need a good pass rush. And he's being out this week. It'll be interesting to see how that front seven of the Cardinals does react to that. Byron Murphy's out. Already a thin secondary for the Cardinals. They played really well last weekend. They played really well the weekend against the Seattle Seahawks. They shut down DK Metcalf, one of the best, if not the best, young receiver in the league. But they've had their moments of issues back there. Dre Kirkpatrick, the other cornerback across from Patrick Peterson, does have a hamstring issue, has been out of practice all week. I was hoping to see an injury report before I recorded this to see if he did practice today, so I don't have word on that. Something to watch. However, there is news on a signing for the Cardinals, which is not going to affect them in this game, but according to Mark Berman of Fox 26, wherever that is, the Cardinals are signing another veteran quarterback and Jonathan Joseph. Of course, he was just released earlier this week by the Titans. He is 36 years old. He is in his 15th NFL season. He did do 5 seasons in Cincinnati recently before the Titans, and then he did do 9 in Houston as well. Cardinals need the cornerback help. Murphy should be back next week once this COVID passes for him. So we'll get him back. Dre Kirkpatrick, as I said, banged up. They need depth in that quarterback position. They are getting veteran depth to at least get him through this year and to continue on that side. I think that's good news. I think he's still got something. Why the Titans cut him? I didn't look into it. I don't know. I'm just going to assume change of scenery is what he was needed. Of course, the trade deadline was this week. And at the trade deadline, the Cardinals actually didn't make any moves. I'm okay with it. If the price wasn't right, the right players weren't there. You know, you heard Stephon Gilmore was available. You heard they were talking to the Cardinals and the Patriots were talking. They wanted, I think, a first rounder and a player for Stephon Gilmore. Yeah, don't make that trade. I get that you need that spot, and he's younger than Patrick Peterson, and he could replace Patrick Peterson after this year if Patrick Peterson doesn't re-sign. But don't make that trade and mortgage a first-round pick for something like that. I saw rumblings of J.J. Watt wanting to come to the Cardinals. They were at least discussing it. That'd be a big haul to bring in for him as well. Not worth it in that linebacking core. I feel you need defensive line help and cornerback help more on that defense with just the injuries and what's going on. But the Cardinals did sign Marcus Golden. Anybody that's been a Cardinal fan for last 10 years at least, 15 years, y'all know Marcus Golden. He was a motorboat back there. He was everywhere on the field. It was disappointing when they couldn't re-sign him and he left to go someplace else. It was on the Giants this year, and the Cardinals acquired him back. I don't remember now. I said it on the previous podcast. I think it was a 4th-round pick. But Marcus Golden got back here, and everybody's excited. He's a positive force in the locker room. Everybody's excited about him being here. That's going to help that defense. It's going to help Budda Baker also get freed up a little bit more going into this weekend and the remaining games, because they're both going to be back there doing similar things all over the field. It's going to be exciting to watch that secondary and that second level of the defense, at least on pass rushing and things like that, to help out that front seven, especially this week with Kennard out. Marcus Golden did say at his press conference on rejoining the Cardinals, as I said, he came from the Giants. He said, quote, "I feel like I got drafted again." That's what you like to hear. Absolutely love to hear that. He's excited to be here. He wants to prove himself here. He wants to stay here. He never really wanted to leave here, from what I understand. It's great that he's back. Show us what you can do, man. Show us the old Marcus Golden that we all loved back in the day. several years ago when he was here. It's going to be exciting to watch this. I'm actually excited about this move. He's going to help that defense a lot back there, probably more than I'm even willing to give it credit for sitting here now. It's something I'm going to be watching this Sunday when the Cardinals take on the Dolphins. Absolutely. So, other health news this week, Jalen Thompson, safeties, they get more safety help as the Cardinals activated strong safety Jalen Thompson. He had an ankle injury from the injured reserve designated to return list. And he could see some time this weekend against the Dolphins with Murphy being out, with Dre Kirkpatrick's hamstring out there. You know, you got Devontae Parker on the Dolphins side. The running game on the Dolphins is a little bit banged up right now with their number one running back being out, as I talked about earlier. Get him in there. Let's see what he can do. Get him back in the game. Obviously, get him out there to where he's not overwhelmed. He doesn't get re-hurt. Get him ready for the next set of games when he comes back there. But just an extra body back there in the secondary. It's good to know on there. And now the other thing is, Buddha's been playing with that huge cast on his hand. He did have that interception with it, right? But Buddha Baker in interviews today said that he doesn't have to wear a cast on his right hand, that his thumb is now only in a splint. And now he says he can finally grip the ball. It's good news. The difference is you didn't have an interception with it. Maybe leave it on. That cast might have been a magnet for it. Who knows? But it's just good that he can grip the ball. He'll be able to do things with his hands now. Whereas before it was just, on that hand heavily casted, he was just basically hitting people with it and everything. It is a positive development. I know I joke around and say leave it on because you got your interception and you're playing so well with it on. But in all realistically, you want your guy to have two hands. I understand that 1,000%, on there. Well, just researching this week, I was actually surprised by this next stat. Not only me, by the way, but Kyler Murray was surprised by it also. I knew they were high ranked up there, but I'll just read you the story first. Kyler Murray, this is from Darren Urban at Cards Chatter on Twitter. Good, obviously works for the Cardinals and covered them for 20 plus years. And he basically, Kyler Murray, after being asked what he feels about the Cardinals being ranked number one on offense, he actually turned to the media relations director. His name is Chris Melvin. And he asked, "Is that real?" And then he smiled and looked at the ground kind of. I wish I had video of it. I couldn't find it. I know I saw it, but I couldn't find it. He smiled when he was told yes. Cardinals have the number one offense. I knew it was up there, but I didn't know it was number one. Going into this. So they need to build onto that here in this Dolphins game. They have the opportunity to include and build on that number one ranking and stay there after this game. And that's the expectation going into it, right? Murray went on to immediately say exactly what you expect of him. And this is also from Darren Urban also on Twitter, just so you know. You can give him a follow at Cards Chatter, by the way. Kyler Murray said that he hadn't paid attention to the stats, and the Cards aren't even halfway through the schedule and need to get better. Perfect. That's the reaction I want, right? He's still hungry. He still wants to go out there and get that done. Perfect. Actually, it's funny. I looked everywhere for the video, couldn't find it. I knew I'd seen it somewhere, and of course, I just found it. So let's do what we always do on here, and let me pull it up through these screenshots. So it's going to get a little messy on here. So give me 1 second, and let's get it on here because it's a great reaction by Kyler Murray. It was fantastic.
Feel like to be leading the number one ranked offense in the NFL?
Is that real?
Yes.
I didn't know that, but I guess that means we're doing something good.
Fantastic. That's just a good reaction. Kid is just humble. He, is shocked by that. Not shocked, but just happy about it and just knows. But then instantly collects himself instead of, getting excited about it and doing all that stuff. He just, hey, we got to get better. I love that. I love it, LB. There's always room for improvement, no matter what your ranking is. and he's got it. He's got it. He realizes it. I love that absolutely, 100%. So sorry about the graphics there in terms of playing that video. It's funny. I looked for an hour today trying to find where I saw that video at, and right there it popped up right as I was talking about it. It's like social media listens to you. Ooh. So Cardinals, the expectation is the Cardinals offense this weekend against the Dolphins just continues to rock and roll. And I'll give you my expectations and my prediction here in just a few minutes as we go through this. But here's a stat I came across. I saw it in a couple places, but I'm going to give Bob McManaman. I apologize. I apologize, Bobby Mack, for screwing up your name. Bob McManaman, of course, a writer for the Arizona Republic, covers the Cardinals and the NFL. Great follow on Twitter. Great read in the Arizona Republic. Definitely give him a follow and listen. You Cardinals fans. But he came out this week on Twitter and he said 27 NFL quarterbacks have been sacked more times than Kyler Murray has. He's been sacked 9, by the way. 5 of them have been sacked at least 22 times. The Eagles' Carson Wentz has 32 sacks. And that's the most in the NFL for quarterbacks this year. Offensive line for years has taken, deservingly so, beatings for the Cardinals for not performing, not protecting the quarterback. They're getting raving. They're starting to get their due respect now because they're protecting him. Not only are they protecting him, but when it does break down, because it happens, when it does break down, Kyler Murray is able to get out of the backfield and create something for himself to avoid the sack. He's able to throw it away. He's able to get out, get a couple yards, and slide. And this stat shows it right here. 9 sacks for Kyler Murray, and 27 NFL quarterbacks have been sacked more times than him. Carson Wentz, 32. It's amazing, right? It's just an interesting stat. I love that stat by the Cardinals, for Kyler Murray, for that offensive line, and that offense that's playing at the number 1 level, as we just talked about. So, guys, like I said, no bye week last week. We were not able to break down a game, which sucked, man. I enjoy breaking down the games. I enjoy watching the games. I enjoy taking my notes during the game for my initial reactions. I love waiting a couple days and getting it in and thinking about it and reading what others have to say, looking at the stats that come out, rewatching certain plays on the game, and breaking it down. And things that bothered me on Sunday because I saw them live didn't bother me Monday or Tuesday because in the context of the game made sense or wasn't as bad as I was over dramatizing it on Sunday. And then some things just stuck with me. Like we talked about that with the overtime field goal kick, the coach not paying attention, the going forward on 4th down instead of getting points against the Seahawks, which didn't hurt them in the end. Those things stuck with me a little bit. And then other things like some penalties that just go by the wayside. Later on because they weren't in the grand scheme of things. It wasn't the end of the world after the Cardinals got out of that game. I miss that. So I'm excited for this week for the Cardinals to play the Dolphins again. Bye week's over with. Let's break this down. Can't wait to break it down. Watch it and then break it down. Here's my expectations this weekend. Of course, I'm just going to reiterate it again. Keep your eye on the news. I'm expecting the game to still play. The Dolphins are pretty confident they quarantined that coach. They're pretty confident that contract tracing isn't going to come out to large amounts of players affected. So I'm expecting this game still to go off 2:25 here on Sunday here in Glendale. Here's what I'm expecting. The defense is going to pressure the heck out of Tua on the Dolphins quarterback. It's only his second start. They're going to try to confuse him. They're going to show him blitz packages. They're going to fall out of the blitz packages and not blitz. The linebackers are going to show. Budda Baker's going to show a blitz. He's going to drop back, try to confuse him to throw an interception. The running game, as I said, Miami's best running back, pretty much only running back, 18 carries last week, out for this game. That means Tua, you got to do something now. It's all on your shoulders, buddy. Can he do it in his second start? There was a lot of dink and dunk last week against the Rams. Cardinals need to keep it dink and dunk again. No big plays. I've been reading for the last 2 weeks about how Tua's been throwing great long balls down the field to Devontae Parker. Beautiful balls, they're saying. 30, 40 yards down the field in completions. None of that, Cardinals. Defense, get pressure on him. Even if you don't sack him, hit him. Make him take his eyes downfield. Make him step up in the pocket. Make him think about running. Get in there, get him, confuse him. I'm expecting that from the defense. I'm expecting a defense stance here that Tua's going to leave the field and not know what's going on. I'm expecting that kind of a defensive performance. Even with the secondary issues for the Cardinals, as I said, Dre Kirkpatrick's hamstring, he's been out on practice, so we'll see today. Jalen coming back. Marcus Golden joining the secondary here, and linebacking core getting in here and putting pressure on him. I'm on to see this defensive front seven step up with Devin Kennard out. The 2 games he was out, that front seven got 0 pass rush. Let's get some pass rush this weekend. I'm excited for this defensive showing that I'm expecting to see. Absolutely. If this defense doesn't step up in this game and perform in a lights-out manner, it's going to be disappointing. I'm going to be disappointed about it. And everybody should be disappointed about it. They have an opportunity to just pin their ears back and get these guys on the offensive side. On the offensive side for the Cardinals, the Dolphins defense, as I said, it's better than average. It's been solid the last 3 weeks. They've been the highest scoring defense in the league. They can score points. Special teams can score points. None of that. None of that. Turnovers will be keys. If there are no turnovers by the Cardinals offense, if there's no fumbles, there's no interceptions, if special teams can bottle up their punt return and for the Dolphins are going to generate no offense whatsoever. This is going to be the difference in the game. Cardinals, no turnovers. Dominate this game. Kenyon Drake's out, of course, with his ankle issue. Hey, Chase Edmonds, it's your job. Show us what you can do. I want to see what the other rankings of the running backs are. We haven't seen a depth chart yet. Is Zeno Benjamin going to get a chance this weekend? We're going to see him in offense on a few plays. It's going to be exciting to see if it happens. I want to see what he can do out there. So no turnovers for the Cardinals offense. Don't put your defense in a precarious situation. Do what you always do, Cardinals offense. Throw some beautiful balls to D-Hop. Get Kirk involved. Get Larry involved this week even. It's the Dolphins. Spread the ball around. Chase Edmonds and whoever the other running backs are. Catch some balls. Run some balls. Dominate that running game offensive line. Make some holes. Dominate that good defensive line by the Dolphins. No pressure on Kyler Murray. If there is pressure, I expect him to have some really big running yards this weekend for Kyler Murray. So he should have a good passing weekend as well as a good running weekend. One thing I am thinking might happen by the Dolphins is they confused Jared Goff last week with their blitz packages and their fake blitz packages. And Jared Goff, he gets a lot of wrath as not the smartest quarterback on the planet. But you don't see him confused as often anymore. He's been in the league long enough now, and he was confused last week. I'm hoping the Dolphins and Kyler Murray, I'm hoping the Dolphins don't do that to Kyler Murray, and I'm hoping Kyler Murray. The Lions confused him a little bit. He threw some bad interceptions, 3 of them in that game. It happens, that's where the running game needs to come in. Give Kyler Murray some breathing room. Allow him to survey the field and see what they're doing while he's handing it off to Chase Edmonds and the other running backs. That's my one worry in this game in terms of turnovers that could possibly happen. If Kyler Murray feels like he has to press it, he doesn't know what's happening, he throws the ball to an open receiver who's not open because they've confused him. That's my one worry for the offense of the Cardinals. But in this game, I think the Cardinals are going to score at will. When they get the ball, they're going to drive it. It doesn't mean they're going to score touchdowns every time, but they're going to get the ball. They're going to go down the field. I want to see a quick start. First drive by the Cardinals, I want to see a long drive and any points out of it. That's what I'd like to see. I'm excited for this game this weekend because 1, we get to see Tua in his second start. But then 2, this is a team the Cardinals should come in and just dominate. Cardinals are the better team. Dolphins are surprising at 4-3, absolutely. But the Cardinals offense is better than that Dolphins defense. They should be able to go out there and beat them. Cardinals defense is definitely better than the Dolphins offense. It should happen. This game, Cardinals, I think, are going to win this game in a commanding fashion. At no point are you going to think that the Dolphins are in this game, I don't think. It's going to be kind of like the Cowboys deal. Hopefully not 0-0 at the end of the first quarter. But hopefully the Cardinals have a lead, a comfortable lead, and they're just dominating it, driving the ball down the field, killing the clock. Offense is stopping them on their – the defense is stopping their offense on the field. 3 and outs. Even if they have a drive going, stop them. Hold them to a field goal or two. I think the Cardinals are winning this game 28-10 this weekend. Get their 6th win on the season, which is incredible if you think about where you thought they'd be at the beginning of this season. And then the Bills coming into town next weekend. Huge matchup next weekend. I just hope the Cardinals don't look ahead to the Bills. They shouldn't. They had a bye week. They should be refreshed. I'm a little worried about the way they're going to come out, and that's why I say I want to see the Cardinals go out on their first drive on offense and drive the field and get some points. I don't want to see any sluggishness after a bye week. You've had a week off. Get out there. Play hard from the first snap. Get some points right away. Get that, crustiness out of your system as you go along. So, guys, of course, this is the Cardinals Rewind. I break down the game. So I'll be back next week breaking down the Dolphins game. Hopefully a Cardinals victory. Again, I have them at 28-10 over the Dolphins. And then we'll preview the Bills coming into town to play the Cardinals here as well. Exciting 2 weeks here in the Valley in terms of NFL football for the Cardinals. So you can find me at SMAC500, SMAC500. Of course, at the Main Event Pod. I'll put this up as well as post it. And at the Main Event Pods where we do show notes and other stories that happen while we're not on the air. Of course, Main Event Podcast does the podcast Mondays and Thursdays right now. And, of course, I'm on the air on 1580 The Fanatic on Wednesdays from 6 to 8 p.m., where, of course, we break down football and all of that good jazz that's going on in the sports world. So join me in any of these locations. Follow out the Main Event Pod. And, of course, subscribe to the Gestalt Production YouTube page as they are producing this and allow all of this to happen. Racing videos as well as sports videos and these podcasts as well on there. Appreciate everybody. We'll see you all next week. Go Cardinals.